Good afternoon. Okay, so thank you everybody for coming here. I know it's really busy out there. Can everyone hear me at the back okay? Okay, I'm going to start off this presentation the same way I've started every presentation for the last 10 years. I have to shout, so hopefully you can hear me. So, I'd like you to imagine standing over here, a gorgeous girl by the name of Shannon. And Shannon picks up a wheelbarrow, and she goes to the edge of the shore. She's standing on the edge of the shore, and out there's lots of black water. Think of the color black. So she jumps in her boat, which has no oars. Because the boat has no oars, the man comes down and bans her from owning the boat. Okay, who did I say standing over here? Shannon. Shannon, what does she pick up? She goes to the edge of the shore. Out there's lots of. Jumps in the boat with no oars. And then the man comes down and bans her from owning boats. So we just learned 6 objects in 60 seconds. And we've just done a geography lesson. We just learned the 6 largest rivers in Ireland. Let's rewind back. The largest river in Ireland's river? Shannon. The next one is the yellow wheelbarrow. River Barrow. Third is the river. Fourth is the Blackwater. Fifth is the river Nor. And sixth is the river. Let's have a quick look. Let's have a quick look. There we've got the river Shannon, Barrow, Shore, Blackwater, Nor, and the river Ban. Hands up. You thought that was easy. If you don't have your hand up right now, you'll be very lazy. So good afternoon, my name is Raymond Langan. Super excited to be here with you guys. And that's what I do every day of the week. I show students how to learn faster, quicker, and better. That's an example of accelerated learning. That's an example of active learning. And over the last 10 years, I've probably been in 150 schools. I've probably worked with 50,000 students. And the reason I tell you that is not to impress you, but to impress upon you that wherever you are at right now, I was sitting in the same place probably about 10 years ago and probably looking around for a new direction in life. And the one thing I can promise is that if you keep searching and if you keep seeking, then you will find what it is that you're looking for. And I suppose just to give you a bit of context on who I am. So my name is Raymond Langan, and I come from a little town called Rush in North County Dublin, an agricultural town, and I grew up in fields and glass houses, and my eldest brother drove the truck, my next brother drove the tractor. I didn't get to drive anything, so I got my hands very dirty, very young. Come on in, there's 2 VIP seats right up there. And I was very annoyed about that. I didn't like getting my hands dirty. So when I went to school, I was very lucky because in 5th year I was chosen with 5 guys to run the school shop. And we made a profit that year. I went to school in the centre of Dublin, just beside Croke Park, O'Connell School, a very well-known school. And in 5th year, running that school shop, we made a profit of €800. No, it was £800. I was a bit older than that. And we got paid 200 quid each to go to school. How many people would love to get paid to go to school or college or learning? Okay, so when I went to, based on this experience in 5th year, when I went to the 6th year, I thought, I like this business. So I want to study business. So when I did the Leaving Cert, my goal was to get 450 points and do the Bachelor of Commerce degree in UCD. It took me 2 goes, but I got there. I got to do the BCom. And I always knew I wanted to do something to do with business. And I suppose nowadays I am an entrepreneur and I'm a business person. And even since school has come back over the last 2 or 3 weeks, you know, nearly in every school I go to, people ask me, how did you get into the business of going into schools and working with young people and creating these amazing events? I had 150 students yesterday in Cork, 3rd year and 6th year girls jumping around the place. We had an amazing day. People ask me, how did you get into this business? So the purpose of this presentation really is to give you some insights as to how I got here. Now there's 2 ways this can roll over the next 30 minutes. I don't like to bore people. I like to make people happy and I like to get people involved. So what I always do is I talk about my little formula for success, which my program is called Rayse the Game. And I use the game analogy. Now I've given you notebooks. You can actually write down some notes here today because I want to give you as much value as I can in the next 25 minutes. And hopefully you're going to get 1 or 2 nuggets. So I'm going to heap on the information that maybe that can bring you a little bit closer to where it is that you want to go. So I use this this acronym, GAME, G-A-M-E. So the first thing I do with students is we set goals. And a lot of people talk about goal setting. To me, it's very important that we kind of set 2 or 3 goals as to where we want to go. Goals give us direction and clarity. And it is proven, and it's like sports. My program is based in sports psychology. The second thing you need to succeed is a methodology. So in my study skills program, I teach a methodology. I teach a 5-step formula to study in 30 minutes. And I've gamified study. I show students how to make learning fun, as was demonstrated by that little demo. The third thing you need to succeed is attitude. Attitude. So to me, attitude is a small thing that makes a big difference. So if you want to write that down, attitude is a small thing that makes a big difference. Where does attitude come from? To me, attitude comes from hunger. It actually comes from the times you failed. It's the time that you actually don't get what you succeed. That's when you start to actually look at yourself and think, how can I turn this thing around? The rock bottom can actually be the springboard to your success. And the other thing you need to succeed is energy. So it's E for energy. Now, where does energy come from? Energy comes from diet, sleep, exercise. To me, energy is all of those things, but energy is when you make a decision. It's when you make your mind up and you say, this is going to be my best year, I'm going to go for that job, I'm going to switch career, I'm going to ditch that partner, I'm going to get into a relationship, whatever it is. But it's amazing when you actually make your mind up. Now, my programs, I always like to bring a bit of energy. So for the next 25 minutes, I'm going to push you a little bit outside your comfort zone. So I'm going to ask you to do some things that you don't want to do. And you're going to hear a little voice in your head going, are you serious? I want you to put that voice to one side. That's called the voice of resistance. I see some of you looking at me now going, can I get out of here? It's only like 5 meters. Don't worry, you're going to have a lot of fun as well. This is a fun exercise. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring a little bit of energy. And when you feel that voice in your head that goes, oh, do I have to? That's the voice of resistance. Just put it to one side. That's the small me holding me back. I want you to bring in the big me, the empowered version of you. That empowered version of you says yes, and you go for it, okay? So this is a fun exercise. I'm just going to ask everybody please to stand up for a quick second. Stand up, stand up, stand up. And what I'm going to ask you to do right now is just put your hands up into the air. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Give me a groan. Oh. Stretch over to your left-hand side. Stretch, give me a groan. Stretch over to your right-hand side. Stretch, give me a groan. Stretch down, touch your toes, touch your toes. And shake your shoulders and back up. Everybody's jogging on the spot. That's about a 3. Go to a 4, go to a 5, shake and bake, go to a 6. I'm not going to push it past a 7. What I'm going to ask you to do right now, and by the way, Cucullin, when he went into battle, his war cry was a boom. So that means victory. So when I shout the word Karja to his friends, you're going to turn to the person beside you right now. So turn to the person beside you. If you don't know them, that means you can talk to a stranger. But you're going to do something really cool. You're going to shout louder than that person right now. So your job is to outdo their energy. So what I'd like to do is turn to the person beside you. When I shout Karja, you're going to shout Abu. And you're going to outshout the person beside you. So look at them right now. 3, 2, 1, Karja! Please sit down. Okay, so I see somebody going, that was just weird. Good, good. By the way, part of finding your career calling is making yourself uncomfortable. Put that down. Make yourself uncomfortable. So I'm going to share my story and part of my experiences. And the reason I'm sharing this, because I've had successes, I've had a lot of failures, is to, in some way, impart through my story, maybe some little nuggets of inspiration or wisdom or whatever it is. And I suppose one of the first pieces of wisdom I'm going to impart is the word courage. So we need courage. Just turn to the person beside you, just ask them, why are you here today? Why are you here? Go. Okay, let's have a look. So, some people are like, I don't know. I just got drunk last night and I ended up in here by default. It's in coppers and anyway, no, sorry, that was 2 weeks ago. Anyway, okay. So what is a calling? To me, a calling is like, I love Batman. And You see the sign up there. And everybody, I think, these days is looking for a sign, and we're looking for meaning in our life, and we're looking for something a bit extra. And I certainly know what that is like. And I would be so excited if I was any person in this room today, because this has changed everything. This has changed everything. I'm talking about not just the phone or the internet, I'm talking about social media. People love social media, we hate social media. Here's the bottom line. Now, if you can use this, if you're a practitioner and you know how to communicate, if you know some of the skills I'm going to show you, it is so easy today to go for that dream job, or to create a business, or to communicate a message, or to get seen. Now, I know for some of you that frightens the life out of you, but to me that's so exciting. My first job after I left UCD, and here's the deal, I went to my dad in third year and I said, I want to do marketing, and they said, no, you're going to do accounting. I said, I want to do marketing. They said, you're going to do accounting. Guess what, Dad won. And my first job, I'm back in UCD, I was big into music and bands and all that. I had a really dodgy Oasis haircut, and I was a drummer, and I had 2 rings, and I remember the guy interviewing me, the partner, he says, what's the story with the rings? Are you married? And I said, no, I just like Ringo Starr. And I didn't get the milk round, but I got one job, a tiny little accounting firm, and I hated it. I hated that job. And I struggled my way through the next couple of years in the Institute of Chartered Accountants and working in that firm. But the reason I did that is because I thought, if I'm a qualified accountant, I'm going to have the business skills, and that's going to make me more appealing to the market. I was all the time thinking about the skills I needed for the market. And when you're 22 or 23 or 24, you're trying to figure all this stuff out, right? So, but I struggled in that career, and I remember being in this hall nearly 19 years ago, doing my final exams and having a massive panic attack. The pressure was enormous. And I ended up having to quit my career for a year, go off to Australia, jumped out of planes, did everything I could do to endanger my life. But after I came back and came to my senses, I actually read a book over there. It was interesting. It was a book by a guy who interviewed the 500 wealthiest people in the world, and he came up with their philosophy of success. And it was at that point in time, I was 26 years of age, I remember running up and down Bondi Beach. I just got a 4-year visa to live in Australia, and I decided I was going to come home and resit my exams and to go into the next stage of my career. And I suppose what I learned in that book is that your world doesn't happen to you, you create your world. So put that down, you create your world. Now here's the deal, if you create your world, then you want to create the world that you want. And it's so interesting to me that, we live in a world where we're kind of trying to satisfy everybody, we're trying to fit in, and when I think back to certainly, the accounting world, and I was trying to get to work for one of the big 4, and I was trying to kind of be something, but that wasn't congruent with me. So when I talk about this thing of courage, it's the courage to go on a journey. It's the courage to actually make big decisions. And it's the courage to be able to back yourself. So it's really all of those things. And it takes a lot of gumption. So courage is important. And just fast forward a couple of years when I did actually came back, qualified, got the exams, got a great job, and then I was working with a logistics company. I'm a big Liverpool fan, and I remember I was in Istanbul in 2005 when Liverpool beat Milan. It was one of the best nights ever. And that summer, that year, I remember I'd only got 1 day's holiday, and it was to go to the Liverpool match, and I could deal with that. But that Christmas, I had a seminar booked in America to go and see Tony Robbins, if you know Tony Robbins. And I remember my boss sat me down, and he said, we want you to stay this week and next week. It was like the first week of December. They asked me to stay because we were being bought over by the time. We were doing this due diligence. And me, like a good employee, I said, okay, I'll do that. And I actually cancelled my trip. Then the following year, again, I booked to go on another personal development seminar. And they sat me down again and they said, look, we're really busy. Would you stay? And I remember thinking to myself, like I was working till 9 o'clock every night. I was working Saturdays. I was in an accounting job. I hated the job. I hated the work. Does this resonate with some people in here? I just didn't like the work. And I remember saying, you know what, I'm sick of this. I'm going to start my own business. And I set a goal, and I always had this idea in my head, by the age of 30, I would set up my own business. So I went to the seminar, and I came back, and the following year, I went in and handed in my notice. And that was one of the best days of my life. Actually, it was really interesting because I remember at one stage they owed me 4 months' expenses. And I remember being afraid to ask for the expenses. And I remember I was working with someone at the time and they said, a coach, and they said, you pick up the phone right now and you ring them up and you ask for your expenses. And I remember sitting in the room looking at the phone, and it took me about 40 minutes to make that call. I remember ringing up and I went to voice message, I remember, thank God, and I just went, Jerry Ray here, could you pay my expenses? So there's times that you're going to have to do things, but you really have to start enforcing yourself. You really start to have courage to start to take ownership of your future and even that one act of doing the expenses, that was a stepping stone to other things. And I remember the day I sat down with a partner and I said, I'm setting up my own business. And he said, I'm jealous, I'm really jealous. And I set up a business in the financial planning space. And the reason for that was, this is about 2005 and 6, is because, and again, I'm sharing my story. I remember this was around the time the Celtic Tiger was starting to boom. And I remember when I qualified as an accountant, the bank said to you, you're a great lad, here's a 100% mortgage. And then I bought a second property, and then a third property. And suddenly you start to think, hey, I like this property investing thing. So around that time, I started doing a lot of work on wealth management and getting into the whole area of finances. And I remember going to a seminar, and I came back and I pitched an idea to my friend. I said, it's like a health shop, only it's a wealth shop. And he said, I love it. And within 6 months, we created our first wealth shop. We opened up in the Omni Park Shopping Centre in Santry. We put together the forms. We created a limited company. We brought in another partner, Louise. And it was amazing. It was like being in The Apprentice every day for 2 years. It was hustle. It was trying to build a brand. And I learned so much in that experience. So the second thing you need to succeed is conviction. So you need to follow through on what it is that you want to achieve. And again, I can only tell how this kind of unfolded for me, because I didn't have a grand plan at the age of 18, that at the age of 44, I was going to be going into schools all over Ireland delivering personal development seminars and running my own business. I just knew at 18 I wanted to be involved in business, and I always liked performing. That's all I kind of knew at 18. But I'm just telling you how this all unfolded. So what you need is conviction, and I suppose conviction, another word for that is strength. And even a simple thing like asking for the expenses, that has to sum up an inner strength. So what we're doing is we're starting to build the muscles. And I remember at that time when we put together the wealth shop, I had never sold a mortgage, I'd never sold an insurance product, I'd never sold anything. I just thought, hey, I'm a good talker, I can talk to people. Do you know what? The first 6 months were hell, because I didn't know anything about how to sell. So one of the things that I would advise you to do is actually learn how to sell. Sales has a kind of weird connotation. We're all salespeople here. You're selling yourself all the time. To me, sales is very simple. People have needs, and what you do is you position yourself as the person who solves that need. Does that make sense to everyone? And the shouter, not just the louder, but the better you can position yourself to solve that need, then you're putting yourself in a really, really, really good position. So learning about sales was a great investment. If you've never sold anything, even doing some cold calling, going out on the street, working for concern, any of that sort of stuff, what you're doing is you're building skills that's necessary for your career. And one of the other things we had to do when I set up the wealth shop was I had to go back to college, because I had no formal qualification. I was an accountant, but I didn't have the QFA, the Qualified Financial Advisor exams. But here was the difference. Every time, and with 6 levels of exams to do, I remember thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I'm studying again. By the way, studying never stops. You're in the right place. Learning never stops. Keep challenging yourself. You're in the right environment. So for me, I remember every time we sat an exam with the QFA, we would take out our business card, myself and my best buddy Rich, we were business partners, and we put the business card on the desk in front of us, and that helped us remember why we were doing the exam. Does that make sense? Because it gets difficult, right? When you're studying, you're going to lectures on a Tuesday or Thursday evening, or a Friday morning, or a Saturday morning, and you're having to leave the kids and all that stuff. So just in some way, have a symbol of what it is that represents what you're moving towards. Does that make sense to everyone? Turn to the person beside you and just ask them, if you could make your dream career move right now, what would that career move be? And I'm going to give you a magic formula you cannot fail. Go. Okay, I better speed up. I told him I've only got 8 minutes left. Okay, so the other thing you need is communication. So, long story short, let's fast forward to about 2009, and I made a bad move. After 2 years of being in a partnership, which can kind of be difficult when you're in partnership with someone, I made 1 or 2 bad moves during the Celtic Tiger. And long story short, the 25th of June 2009 was a very difficult day for me because, well, 2 things happened. First thing was Michael Jackson died that day, and the second thing was I got a 3-month job back as an accountant. I made a bad move. I got headhunted out of the wealth shop. It didn't work out, and I had to get back into a job. And a guy offered me a job as an accountant. And he sat me down after a 3-month trial, 25th of June 2009. He says, I'm going to tell you something. He says, I'm letting you go. He said, you don't have the talent in this area. You don't have the talent. He said, but, he said, you do have a lot of talent. It's just somewhere else. You got to go and find that place. And as soul destroying as it was at that point in time, it was actually turned into a very freeing moment. And it was quite a difficult moment because during the financial crash, I was under severe financial pressure because I'd set up businesses and this thing hadn't worked out. And I got a phone call from a friend of mine who's in the education space. And he had a couple of products, very successful, but he was setting up a personal development division, going into schools, talking to teenagers about leadership and entrepreneurship. And he gave me a call and he said, I need some help selling this. And next thing I'm on the phone to schools, trying to sell this program. And suddenly I'm standing in front of 80, and he said to me, how would you fancy delivering a program? And I said, why not? And I would have a real fear of public speaking, a real massive fear. And I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to do this. So this is the conviction kicking in. And I remember coming out in front of 80 transition years. Now here's the thing, adults are nice because they will listen to you, even if you are rubbish. Adults are great, teenagers are not. Teenagers will let you know within 30 seconds if you're good or bad. And I remember coming in and I put on my intro music, and I think it was the Karate Kid music from, the 1980s. I thought this is going to be cool. And this is like 2009. These guys are into the Fast and the Furious and movies. Like they're looking at me going, who is this weird old guy? And I came out all pumped. It was terrible. I was an absolute flop. I didn't sleep for a week. But I got something out of it. I don't know what it was. And I decided I was going to master public speaking. Out of that one experience, because I absolutely flopped, I said, I'm going to get all over this. So I joined Toastmasters. Before I even joined, I remember the second meeting, I just had a rule in my head. I have to speak within 10 minutes. And I remember standing up and I said, I'm at Toastmasters 2 weeks and I haven't seen a slice of toast. And the whole place erupted laughing. And I went, this is it for me. And over the next year, I went to 3 meetings a week. I was going all over, I was just doing anywhere I could get to speak. I would put myself, and I became this kind of public speaking stuntman. So the reason I'm telling you that is because in your career, if you can actually do a presentation or you can actually communicate to multiple people, you're going to get seen. It's important that you get seen. And again, this helped me, and actually after that, I set up a company called Speech Camp, a boot camp for public speaking, and we trained a lot of people. We put it on Groupon, it was a huge success. So being able to public speak is a critical skill. The next thing I want to talk to you about, and I'm now down to 4 minutes. By the way, is this useful? Is this useful? Yeah? Okay, show me you're alive. Okay, so the next thing I just want to talk to you about is clarity. Because I suppose, here's the deal, you're here, and I know what it's like to be caught in that haze, and you're trying to think, what's next for me? Where do I go? And you have to let your instincts guide you. So 2 years ago, and I see the IICP over there, I decided to do a degree in counselling and psychotherapy. And that has been a brilliant, brilliant decision, brilliant choice. And the reason I did that is because I'm working with teenagers 10 years. Anxiety has become such a big issue today. And I thought, well, I need skills in order to be able to, talk to teenagers and parents, in an informed way. And the other thing about it is that I also set up a cyberbullying program, and that's gone really well for me. And again, anxiety is such a big issue. So try things out, test things, see what the market wants. And the way to get clear is that you try so many things. This was my formula. That I went through a process of removing the things I was not good at, and I filtered it to the things I was good at. Does that make sense? And what I realize is I hate sitting at a desk. And I spent 8 years working in accounting offices. I don't like numbers. Yet I did it because I thought that's what I have to do. By the way, I teach left and right brain thinking. Left is logical, right is creative. I'm the most right brain person there is working in a left brain world for 8 years. So the way I got clear was to actually sit, it was when I actually started removing the things that I just didn't want in my life. And this is what I mean at the outset. You have to really think about what is it that you want to do with your life. And the things that you don't find acceptable, just set the standard for yourself that I'm not going to accept that anymore. This is what I want to do. And one of the reasons I set up my program and my company and my seminar, Rayse the Game, 2 years ago is because the company that I was working with, one day I put up, and again, I love this company. My previous boss was a massive mentor to me. But it just got to a stage where, and I remember one day, I was doing this 8 years, nobody knew what I did. And one day I put up a couple of pictures of me in the classroom and all the kids jumping around, and I put up a few pictures. And they said, you have to take those pictures down. And those pictures are property of the company. And I remember thinking, I was just so mad at this. I was so mad. I came home and I said, that's not for me. I got so mad. So here's the thing, you have to get mad at the things you're unhappy with. And I said, to hell with this, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to step things up, I'm going to sort this out. I'm going to set up my own program. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. I'm going to mold it in my image. And next thing, this vision started to kick in of impacting millions of teenagers around. And I could not have predicted that 20 years ago, but this program started formulating in my mind. But that came out of a moment where, I was being pushed. So sometimes when you're being pushed, you got to push back. Does that make sense to everybody? So write that down. When you're being pushed, push back. And when you get clear, it's about removing, again, being really clear on the things that you don't want, and that starts to formulate what you do want. Which brings me to the last bit, and I'm going to wrap up with this. The fifth C, by the way, they were all C's. The fifth C is Cueness. Cueness, which is the Irish for silence, to be quiet. And I suppose I can talk about all these different experiences, but we get so caught up in the busyness of life that what I've found is sometimes the thing that you're looking for is not out there, it's right behind you, or it's right here, and it kind of sneaks up behind you. Does that make sense? It sneaks up behind you. And it's only when you get really, really, really quiet and step back and listen, and you actually start to look at the patterns of your life, and you see, what do I like, what do I not like, what do I enjoy doing? And you sit there and you really listen to yourself, that then things start to come to you. Does that make sense? So that's where you need to take some time out. That's where you do need to take a break from things. And it's amazing. Often what we're looking at sneaks right up behind us, and it's in the moments of silence. That's when it comes through, and that's the thing that you are looking for. The one message I give out to everyone here today is to, as I said, and my program is called Rayse the Game. How I think of the whole thing, it is like a game. Business is like a game. Life is like a game. Relationships are a game. You got to play the game. At least you're here. The fact that you're here, you're showing up. Woody Allen says 98% of success is showing up. Go out and make yourself nervous. After this seminar today, within an hour of being out of here, do something that brings you to the next level of your career. Whatever that is, an email, a phone call, talk to someone. And what I talk about, my metaphor for Rayse the Game, is just to raise your standard. Actually to step back and look at what do you find unacceptable in your life. And say, I'm not dealing with that anymore. And step forth and actually raise your game, and you will actually see that you will start to achieve the things that you want to achieve. Has this been helpful to everybody? Yeah? What I'd like you to do right now is to take your right hand, turn to the person on the right, give them a pat on the shoulder and say, well done, buddy. Take your two hands, give yourselves a round of applause. And I just want to say a massive thank you for everybody for coming here today. The best of luck with the next step of your journey. And the next time you cross the River Shannon, turn to the person beside you, name the 6 largest rivers in Ireland, and show them how amazingly talented and smart you are. Thank you.